Good morning, and welcome to the mothership. I'm the commander, Lax Ivrak, sitting in the main galley of the mothership where the tree is. And we have our silver bells. And our red wooden beads. Does anybody else's mother or grandmother still do silver bells and red wooden beads? These wooden beads have been in my mother's family for quite a while. They're well over 100 years old. How do you like that? And these silver bells, my mother has a collection of silver bells. She gets one every year. She gets a silver bell every year. It has the year engraved on it. And I think her oldest bell is probably 1936 or something like that. That's and she might even have some older ones. And I'm sure maybe her aunts, no telling how many silver bells there are from her family, because when people pass away, they get passed to different folks. But my mother has definitely a complete every year from at least 1943. And then my years are only fairly recent, But anyway, I thought, does anybody have any traditional things like that on their trees that they keep every year? Lovely cup of coffee. Let's see, I wanted to show you one other thing. So our stockings will be hung with care, much like lac, very hung. But anyway, I wanted to show y'all, I made these. I made, shout out to Ed, Rebels, Reptiles, and Games. You got a CNC plasma cutter? Oh, I think you do, because we're gonna do that katana blade. But dig this. I have some other ones too that I think are even better than this. They're much bigger, but this is the small set I keep for my house. This is just cold rolled steel. I can't remember the gauge, but it's about maybe 60 thousandths thick. So it ain't no lightweight shit. And of course, this is all done on a CNC plasma cutter, and then I had a brake to bend these. And they sit very nicely. You can put these on a shelf, and they will not come off. Well, you can see how far they sit back on the shelf, and then of course the weight of the metal is on the back of it. See, instead of on the front. Same thing with this one. So this is the first set I ever made. This was for me and my ex and our two little kids. So Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and two baby bears. The first Christmas, of course, we just had one kid. Then by the next Christmas, we had another kid. So I was like, well, I need another, But so yeah, I made these. These are all painted. I painted them, just with a piece of cardboard, and some spray paint. But so I wanted to share that with everybody. I hope everybody likes that. You can hang a lot of weight from these motherfuckers too. But yeah, so we will have those. There is a shelf up here above this tree. This tree is about 9 feet tall. And I had them up there, but there's also a shelf. You've probably seen it, but over here I have a little shelf under the television where the PlayStation used to sit, which I sold that. I got rid of that. I was spending too much time on it. It was a long time ago, but yeah, I hope y'all like these. If shit don't work out, I'll get a CNC plasma cutter or whatever, and I'll start making these. Everybody can buy a set. But yeah, quality shit. Lac don't fuck around, you guys. And there's a caribou. Caribou and a reindeer are actually the same thing. A reindeer is a domesticated caribou. I'm sure that people will be Googling it because everybody wants to prove Lac wrong. But I have to say, Google is not a fucking source. And because Google says all kinds of wrong shit. And also, shout out to Matt Easton, but only to Matt Easton, not to your echo chamber. Because Wikipedia is also not a source. Wikipedia is not a source. Wikipedia is not a source. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Fucking sons of bitches. Anyway, this episode is going to be a story time. I know you know that from the title, but I got some coffee. I got a spittoon here, which we're going to use in a second. Now, this story time, this is kind of like that last one. I haven't told the story because I just figured I shouldn't give it away for free, you know. And for a long time, I wanted to be a spokesperson for Filson, you know, and still would be, I guess. But so Filson coats, that's the coat I'm wearing now. This is a new coat I just bought for myself. And I may have to take it off because it's like 50 degrees here in the mothership. It was way too fucking hot for this coat. I keep the house pretty cold. A lot of my guests don't appreciate that, but it's not their house. But so this story time is not about this coat. It's about this coat. And I've had this coat since, gosh, I bet I bought this when I was 16 years old. And yes, Lack is the same size 52-inch chest at 37 years old as he was when he was 16 years old. I've gotten a little bit taller. I was 173 pounds in 3rd grade, you guys. But so, yeah, this is the style 83 double Mackinac Filson coat. Both this coat that I'm showing you here, my original one, and this one were probably made in the same maybe 7-year period, roughly. You can date Filson by the way the tag is, you know. So they change the tag every few years, and that's what kind of dates it. They do not make this coat anymore. I had to find this on eBay as a vintage item. But you can see this one has seen better days. This one, I think, has done the last it's going to do. But this story I'm about to tell you is about this coat right here. This old one. I gotta take this off, you guys. It's too hot. So, this was after my grandfather passed away. And I went back to the cabin where we lived. And I stayed there by myself for quite a while. And this was fairly soon after he passed, because I was still, you know, really trying to work through different shit in my mind, you know. So I was about 16. Matter of fact, I might have been 15. I have to look. But I own this coat. I bought this coat shortly before he died. My dad actually bought me that coat as a present. A present. But so, one day I was out walking, breaking trail, going through all the old things that my grandfather and I used to do together. And I don't know why I did this, but I was young. I was going to say young and dumb, but I was still a lot smarter than a lot of other motherfuckers my age, and a lot of motherfuckers that were even older, you know. But, so I'd made a big loop, and I hit a point in the trail where I should have turned back, but I thought, no, I'm going to do the next loop, you know, because you always try to do loops, you know, so you can, you know, go back, you know, without having to break new trail or whatever you need to do. But so I'd gotten to this point where the trail came and met an old Redwater Creek. And I'd already passed that point. I don't know. I should have turned around or whatever, but on the other side of this creek was another trail that had already been broken. That was probably maybe a mile, maybe a little less than a mile from the cabin. Now, I'd left the cabin, and real natives know, right? Like in Alaska, it'll be 50, 60 below outside, and you go inside the cabin, it'll be 120. You know, that's how we roll. It'll be 120 degrees up inside that fucking cabin. The stove will be glowing, you can see through it. That's what we used to say. Like, that stove's so fucking hot, you could see through it. And, but so I decided, I said, you know, I'm just gonna hop across this frozen creek. And there was logs and stuff. I knew that I should have stayed on the logs because redwater creeks are notorious for not necessarily freezing, you know. But I thought, I'm just gonna hop across this motherfucker and go back to the cabin. So as I was making my way across that creek, I obviously slipped off of a stump, got onto the ice, and I fell through the ice. And the water was only about chest deep, which is always lucky because I don't know if anybody's ever fallen in cold water. But unless you know you're going to do it, like we used to do a lot of polar bear plunges and shit like that. But when you hit cold water, it's really hard not to make your body automatically goes, and like that's how you drown. And it's like a reaction. Your body, it's happened to me quite a few times since then. And like, if your face ever gets under that water, you'll fucking drown just like that. So I fell through that ice up to about my armpits. And, you know, it wasn't scary at first. And of course I tried to get my way back out, but the ice broke. And that's what happens next is people try to panic and they scramble up on the ice and the ice breaks, and then they panic. And then they scramble back up on the ice and the ice breaks again and they panic. And then you wear yourself out and you fucking drown that way. Well, even being 16, I knew my way around. You know, I've been around the Horn since I was fucking 12. I went around the Horn and over the falls and fought the tiger and went in his mouth. And goddamn, when I was 12, you know, so I calmly, because you couldn't get back on the ice, so I calmly would just break the ice and walk forward, and I broke the ice and I walked forward, and I got up out of the water. And when I got out of the water, boy, I was cold. I was really cold. Luckily, I had this coat. This is made out of, this is called Mackinaw. This is called a double Mackinaw coat. Sometimes people call it Mackinaw wool, but it is, I believe it's merino. It's from a merino sheep, which is from down under, correct? I think you can only get merino, real registered merino wool is, I think, from New Zealand. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that might have changed now. But I remember back in the day, you know, for it to be that, it had to be from a certain place. But so, a Filson double Mackinaw coat, which of course is made out of 100% pure merino wool. High grade wool is the only, now listen to me, this is very important. And wool, especially merino, close knit, closed cell, it is the only material that will still retain up to 80% of your body heat fully saturated. All right, do you understand what I'm saying? Everybody knows cotton kills and fucking all that kind of shit. High grade wool is the only material that will retain 80% of your body heat fully saturated in any fucking temperature, okay? So, thank God I was wearing this coat. So I get out of the water and I'm getting pretty fucking cold. I have to take my gloves off because they're wet. And, you know, if you have anything, you know, people know, right? Like, if you're wet and shit like that, you got to get the wet clothes off, okay? Well, when it's 40 below or whatever it was, or 30 below, like, that's not really an option, you know? Also, people know, I'm sure Dylan knows from his survival days, like, you know, if you have a buddy who's going into hypothermia and you put them in a sleeping bag and all that kind of stuff, like, you need to strip their clothes off. You need to strip your clothes off. You need to strip your friend's clothes off, put them in a sleeping bag, and if they're not getting any warmer, you need to strip your clothes off and you need to get in the bag with them. And that's how you fucking survive. You know, and I know a lot of modern people would go, oh, you know, but like, your friend or you is gonna fucking die if you don't do that. Well, I was out there alone. I had about a mile walk, and I was already getting pretty cold. Now, I had this Filson coat on the top. I had a Filson Mackinaw vest underneath it. And then underneath that, I'm sure I just had some sort of like cotton, you know, plaid. It might have been flannel. Flannel is a material. Flannel is not a pattern, okay? The pattern is called plaid. Flannel is a material. A lot of modern people don't know that. But And I had Carhartt insulated overalls, and I had bunny boots. Thank God I had bunny boots, because bunny boots is the only other thing that you can fill your fucking bunny boots up with fucking ice cold water and put them on, and that fucking your body heat will warm that fucking water up. It'll warm it up. But so I get out, and there's a big tree there. I brush all the snow off of the limbs, because a lot of people will go under a tree because there's no snow. But what they don't realize is there's snow on the limbs. So you'll be making a fire, do something, and you'll bump that snow and it'll fall onto your fire and put it out. So I always clean all the snow off before you go under there. So I went up under that tree because I said, well, I got to make a fire right now. And I always carried a waterproof container with strike anywhere matches. And then also in there, I carried cotton balls that had been soaked with wax on the outside to keep them waterproof also, you know. And we have what they call it's called squaw wood, but on the bottom underneath of trees, you know, you'll get the limbs that have died, and they usually have, they call it squaw hair, and they'll have some sort of moss, but it's real dry. That's a great fire tinder. And so I gathered up what I could, you know, and it was going to be no big deal, and it was going to be no big deal at all. I pulled my Ziploc bag out of my chest pocket, and I went to try to open the bag, and I couldn't. You know how you have to get your little get it in there like that? I couldn't do it. My dexterity was leaving fast. So I ripped it open with my teeth, and I got my thing out, and I unscrewed it, and I got a match out, and I got my cotton ball out, and I was able to pull my cotton ball apart, and I put it there. And I kept they were strike anywhere matches, but I kept a strip rolled up backwards inside there to strike the matches on. So I get that out, and I'm shaking, as my dad would say, shaking like a dog shitting a peach seed. And I go to strike this match, and I broke it in half because I had no finesse. My motor skills were leaving very fucking quickly, very quickly. And it had taken me a while to get to where I was anyway. And when I broke that match, Bushman, just like the Wolverine story, and just like I was telling you, Kat, later, and we'll do some more Bushman stories sometime, but Bushman told me, he said, "You're gonna die." And I said, "No, I ain't." He said, "You're gonna die before you get that fire started. Run." He said, "Run." That's what he said. So I took off. And the cabin was straight down the trail. I was on the correct side of the creek and everything, and it was maybe about a mile, I guess. 5,286 feet. Dylan will correct me if that's not right, but it's about 5,280 something feet. I think it's 82, 84, I don't remember. But I took off, because that's what Bushman said. He said, "You're gonna die before you get that fire started. Run." I took off running. And this coat right here was the only thing that saved me. There was steam. Now it's like 35 below. There was steam coming off of this coat because my body heat was keeping it warm, and I was running as fast as I could. And on the lower half of my body, I had Carhartt bib overalls, insulated, Arctic. It wasn't Arctic wear, because back then Carhartt didn't make what they call now Arctic wear. It was just Carhartt insulated bibs, but the high insulated ones, you know. So, and those Carhartts though, they started freezing. They were freezing solid, and every time I'd move my feet, part of those fucking Carhartts would just break like glass and pieces would just fall off, you know? Like that molten Terminator when they froze him and he was going and shit was that's what those Carhartts were like, you know? Now, of course, the Carhartts up here were keeping somewhat warm because I had that coat on. But I ran like a hell all the way to that cabin. And, of course, I got inside and the fire was still going because you always leave. Before you leave and before you go to bed at night, you put on what they call an all-nighter. They say put an all-nighter log on there, which is usually birch. You get your coals going real good. And birch, there's more BTUs in a piece of birch than almost any other wood, except tamarack. But tamarack it doesn't grow very big, so it's you know, it doesn't really help you in your cabin or whatever. But paper birch has the highest BTUs of any tree in Alaska that's usable. Tamarack does burn hotter, but tamarack trees don't get very big. But that Filson coat is the only thing that saved my life. And like I said, there was steam rising up off of my body. Because that merino wool is the only thing, it's the only thing that will keep you warm when you're cold. Now these coats weigh about 12, 14 pounds anyway. And when you get them wet, they get real heavy. So you gotta be a fucking man to wear them motherfuckers. But my dad used to put rocks in my fucking backpack and shit when I was a kid, make me carry around shit all the time. But I ran for my life. And I got in that cabin and I fucking stripped off all my clothes and I got in the bed and I fell asleep for what I think was about 2 days because I was pretty hypothermic and had a lot of fucking awful nightmares, and that's what happens when you get hypothermic like that. But yeah, that Filson coat saved my life. And so I wanted to share that. And Filson, I know you're probably not watching. Filson doesn't make this coat anymore. Also, my black one with the sheepskin, that's style 86. This is called the style 83. They don't make these coats anymore. So I highly recommend anybody, if you live in the cold or if you feel like you're going to go somewhere cold, if you're going to come visit me in Alaska, you need to get on eBay now and you need to find a vintage Filson style 83 double Mackinac coat. They were about $350, $400 originally. That one, even 20 years ago, they cost that much. This one I got from a lovely lady in Pennsylvania. I believe this was her husband's. And in Pennsylvania, I think, he just used it. He probably bought it and realized it's way too hot. But this thing has never been used. And I got a great deal on this. I paid the same I paid $350 for this a week ago. And if you look on eBay, there's not very many that are going to be in that, especially in the big size 52. But yeah, get you a Filson. And then as a note to Filson, the company, I got on their website when I knew I was going back to Alaska, and I bought me some. The only thing that they still make, they make these socks. These are called the logger socks. Filson, baby. But Lack had to buy himself about $200 worth of fucking socks so he could go back to Alaska. But you guys got to remember, cheap shit ain't nice and nice shit ain't cheap. You know what I mean? You got to pay to play. And when your life is at stake, money is no fucking object. So go get you some Filson fucking products and get them now. Before they go further the way of LL Bean. LL Bean used to be a pretty good outdoor company, but now it's just like women's jogging spandex pants. It's bullshit. But anyway, I wanted to share that story. Yet another time that Bushman, he saved my life, because I was always trained, I was gonna stop and make a fire and da-da-da-da-da. But when I broke that match, I knew. I knew even before that fucker said anything. I went, oh, this is not good. He said, you're going to die before you get that fire started. Run. So, but that is the story. And that Filson coat is, you know, I'm not going to say it, that's definitely the time it saved my life. Many other times after that, I've been out in the wilderness and had to sleep out and everything. And I knew I'd be fine because I was in that coat, you know. So Filson has saved my life probably quite a few other times in that. But most of the situations after that I put myself in where I needed that coat to save my life, I was consciously doing it, you know. So, but anyway, that's my story about Filson coats. And they're the best you can get out there, but they're the best you can get. And the only sad thing is Filson isn't making them anymore. You know, Filson's gone the way of the dodo, pretty much. They're still out of business, but they're really slacking. I would say cheaping out, but I don't want to talk too much shit about Filson because I still do love them. But yeah, fucking saved my life, so I appreciate that. And I hope everybody else does too, because, you know, shit, I was like 16, 15 years old when this happened, so I wouldn't be here to tell y'all things now. I wouldn't have my cubs, wouldn't be enjoying life. Merry Christmas, and, you know, fuck, call your mom and shit. Tell people you love them. Also, don't be afraid to tell people that you love that they're fucking up, because that's what love is, baby. Okay? Anyway, Anabasi to everybody in the community. Anibasi to Susan L., who gave me such a great deal on this coat. Anabasi to Filson for what you used to make. Anyway, I hope nothing fucking happens, but if it does, I'll be ready. I'll be ready. All right. I'll see everybody on down the trail. I love you guys, okay? Anabasi.